Now, begin by telling me essentially what you're doing here at the Scottish Parliament today.
Well, I was invited actually last year to give a speech or give a talk at the Festival of Politics based on my campaign work for HIV/AIDS pertaining to women and children, particularly in Africa and South Africa, most especially because that is where you have the highest incidence of the virus. Unfortunately, I had some sort of physical problem, which meant I had to have surgery. So it was cancelled, and I was hugely disappointed because I very much wanted to come last year. So they were kind enough to take the risk and invite me back again this year with the hopes that no more spinal problems or anything. So I'm here, and I've just given the talk earlier on today, and it was very, very well received. I have film clips that are on my website that you can see, and I took some of the film clips here because they really tell the human story of what HIV is about and how it is actually impacting and affecting people from maybe just even like from one person's perspective, and then you can sort of get the gist of it, because it's not a subject that we are hugely aware of in Western countries, and even with people who have the virus here, who are struggling to live with the virus, etc., it's something that is still a lot of stigma attached to that. People keep it very much under wraps. It's a very difficult subject to approach. From my trips to Africa and Southern Africa, I felt that I could be a voice, because there are millions of women and children that actually are sort of powerless and voiceless. And I kind of don't believe in charity anymore, although I think charity is a fine thing. I actually believe in partnership and for the future ways to go forward with development. And so I look at the work that I do as a kind of partnering.
We have seen you, obviously, for comic relief at concerts, speaking so passionately about this subject. How did it become a subject that's so personal to you? Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course. That's a good question. I'm a mother, and I think really that being a mother has informed my life. It created a lot of change for me. And having children made me realise just how valuable and important it is that our children, my children, your children, everyone's children, gets access to decent healthcare, education, protection at home, so many things that we kind of take for granted. If we already have access to something, we don't even know what it's like when it's missing. When I went to visit Uganda for comic relief, and I went out into the rural places and visited with women in groups of HIV positive women have got together. Most of them were widowed and infected through their husbands, and then widowed through AIDS. And it was just so heartbreaking in a way, and yet at the same time there is a tremendous heartbreak. There is the human spirit, and people want to educate their children, they want to work, they want to have access to treatment, all these things so that they can live well. And I think that women should have the right to have access to treatment so they can bring their children up and see them well. And unfortunately, millions of women have died as a result of this, so millions of children have been orphaned. And we are very obsessed with celebrity culture and so many things that are instant headlines, and today we look at one headline, tomorrow we forget about it. So the voice for AIDS and for HIV, which is a subject that has a lot of silence and secrecy around it, it's very important that there are people that will speak up about it.
This is a festival of politics. Are you persuaded that there's the political will both in the Western world and in these Southern African countries to bring about the change that you so want? I'm never persuaded that there's enough political will in any real sense, and that is why I campaign. When the day comes when I feel that there is enough will, the change will come. And so my role is of a campaigner is to raise awareness and to keep the subject in people's minds in the best way I can. I'm not the solution to the problem, but I am a contributor to some of its solutions. Tell me about some of the projects that the Sing campaign has been helping.
I work in tandem with various organisations. I'm an Oxfam ambassador. I work with Amnesty International as an ambassador also, and I've worked for Save the Children Foundation, so many different organisations, but the one main organisation that the Sing campaign supports is a grassroots organisation based in South Africa, and it's called Treatment Action Campaign, which is TAC for short. And I like the work that I do with grassroots organisations because I feel they are created for the people, by the people themselves. 80% of TAC members are women that are directly affected. Most of them are HIV positive. And they have a fantastic way to help educate people to learn more about their own situations and to help them understand what's happening and how they actually can help each other and help themselves.
If there's one thing that the audience listening to you today can take away and actually physically do to help make the change, what would you suggest?
Look, as I said to you earlier, I don't have all the solutions. But I would say this, if you are interested in the subject, there are so many problems in the world. Today I'm talking about HIV/AIDS, and this is my passion. I can't tell someone what they should do. But I would like to say that we all have resources. We have, in the West, a lot of us have laptops. We have means to communicate independently. There's a tremendous amount that each one of us can do. You don't have to be a hugely powerful person to make a difference. And by joining organisations, by checking out the organisations that are representing the issue that you feel passionately about, by becoming engaged with the issue that way, you can make a start. And that's the best thing that anyone can do.
You talked today about taking an ambassadorial role as a Scot. What did you mean by that? What would you hope to achieve?
Yes, I had an idea today which I've put to a few people behind the scenes, and I hope that they will think about it and take it seriously, and I think they probably will. But I would love to be, as a Scot myself, I'd love to represent Scotland in an ambassadorial role, representing women and children regarding HIV, so that perhaps I could travel to Africa in that sense, and I could actually meet people at a higher level, and I think that could work. So I'm quite excited by that idea.
Just finally, with all this work going on, for great causes there, are you actually getting any time to produce new music, and does it actually inspire you in what you're creating?
I think 50% of my time is taken up by campaigning, the work that is a sort of spin-off of all those things, like keeping my website up to date and informing it with new information, travelling, campaigning, doing all the things I do, speaking as I did today. And I really do have to block out some more time when I want to make music. It's very difficult for me to say no, because a lot of people, obviously, there's a bit of a momentum that has come from all of this. I am a creative music maker, and I love making music, and I hope to continue doing that. But it's a question of keeping the two things going at the same time.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us today, and all the best with all your projects.
Thanks for talking to me. Thank you.